Hey, it's Jayniemorris here, and welcome back to another chapter reading from my latest book, This Time Next Year, Your Guidebook to Life Freedom. Thank you so much. First of all, I just want to cover off a few things. First of all, I just said that, right? I already just said, first of all. Anywho, thank you. I've been getting some great messages about having from many of you who have already tuned in and listened to the first chapter reading from my book, from my latest book, the first one that I did, which was chapter 6. I really appreciate the feedback. Thank you so much for that. And for those of you who have already picked up your latest, your copy of This Time Next Year, the ones that have taken advantage of the special offer that I have at the moment. I want to cover off on this first as well, so we get everything else out the way. And that is for the month of January and February of this year, 2024. If you would like a signed copy of my book, This Time Next Year, Your Guidebook to Life Freedom, all you have to do is email me at info@jayniemorris.com. The link will be below where you're watching this now. And just send me an email and we will send you the details of how to get a copy, a signed copy. I will sign it for you, personalize it for you. And we're doing a very special on it at only $19.95, which is less than it is currently on Amazon, and plus postage. So for those of you who've already done that, thank you. The post office was very busy yesterday with copies being sent out. And for those of you who would like to take advantage of the January, February special that I'm doing to kick off 2024, simply email us at info@jayniemorris.com and we'll send you all the details. Oh, and remember as well, for this special, my first book, which was which is Against Their Odds, Eternal Optimism Saved My Life, my story of how I overcame the terminal prognosis of 2 months to live 12 years ago now. If you would like to take advantage of getting both of them, then it's postage free. And I'll sign that one as well. Anyway, had to get that off. Oh, the other thing is, please, we are very excited about 2024 because we have our new podcast is going to be coming up soon, which interestingly enough is called This Time Next Year. And it's a companion podcast to the book. And I have some very special guests line up that are going to be joining me on that podcast that will be experts in the areas to assist and to help, and also individuals who have been through breakdowns and who've had incredible breakthroughs, and specifically focusing on This Time Next Year. It's a companion podcast. It's going to be launched very soon. Please, I'm going to reach out to you right now and ask you to subscribe wherever you're listening to this right now on your favorite podcast streaming app. And of course on our YouTube channel. The more you subscribe, the better it's going to be for us, and the more that you share and encourage others to subscribe, the better it's going to be for us to be able to continue to bring these podcasts and our events that are coming up and everything else, certainly all of our podcasts to you for free, so that you can access them for free. And the only way we can do that is if you help us. So there we go. There's all the housekeeping out of the way. So this chapter reading is snippets from the chapter for this chapter reading is from chapter 5 of the book. Excuse me. It's been a big day. Do you ever have one of those days where you've just been racing around doing so many different things, and then you go, oh, I just want to tap in with some friends. I just want to hang out for a little while. It's exactly what I'm doing by joining you right now with this. So what I'd like you to do is, for this chapter 5 is actually called Stuff It. So in this chapter, what I specifically went into working on this chapter is that I talked a lot about navigating the way through the actual breakdown, but I also talk in this particular chapter, I talk about when our emotions get low, when we get depressed, when we have issues in life, we often go for the fridge. Is that something that you do? Because, you know, quite often it is something that I do. If ever I'm having low emotions, or if I'm feeling things aren't going in the right direction, or, you know, fill in the gap, you know, just low periods of time, I oftentimes go to the fridge. Now, research has shown, we've done a lot of research on this particular topic that we cover in the book, that I cover in the book. And research has shown that in our brains, when we get, when our mental health is low, when we have periods of anxiety, depression, low mood, so on and so forth. When those things happen to us, there's a chemical reaction within our brain that makes us want to stuff down the emotions so that we don't feel the pain of it all. And that's why this chapter, chapter 5, is actually titled Stuff It. And I talk here about the many times throughout, especially throughout the breakdown, the post breakdown, where I found myself personally, the fridge became my second best friend. Girlfriends were my first best friends, as always. But the fridge did. And I found that there were times that I would go to the fridge and I would just stand there and look, and I would just eat. I would eat and eat and eat. And sometimes to the point where I was eating so much that my stomach I'd be quite ill, to be honest, because, you know, once you start eating, your stomach actually doesn't tell you, again, fact, your stomach actually doesn't tell you that you're full, or send the message to your brain that you're full and you've had enough, for at least about 20 minutes. And that's why a lot of people who haven't eaten all day, and then they start eating and eating, and they just keep eating because they think they're still hungry. And then, like, in 20 minutes time, they've eaten so much, they feel so full, and they just burst. It's because it takes a little while for the stomach to relay the message to the brain that it's already full. So in this situation in chapter 5 in the book, I address that and talk about that, and talk about, especially when you're going through a breakdown, that is something that can quite often come up. You can quite often want to stuff your feelings down, and that's the metaphor for it. Like, we're just trying to stuff the pain down, trying to stuff the feelings down, trying to switch things up and change things so that we don't feel that we don't have pain and heartache, certainly when you're going through a breakdown or breakthrough. So I talk about that in chapter 5. I also talk about the solutions. I also itemize several things in particular, that talking to health professionals, that you can actually do in the moment, that can stop you from doing that can stop you, or at least reduce the amount of things that you're stuffing. Because quite often when you stuff yourself with a lot of food, when you're in a bad mood, or when you're feeling depressed, or when you're having anxiety, a lot of the food that you eat is crap, right? It's sugary, it's salty, it's loaded with fat, and it's not good for you at all, because, again, you're trying to stuff everything out with comfort food, right? And I also talk about the points that are really important to remember when you're going through that, and that your health is your number one priority. And when you're going through a breakdown, and certainly from a post-breakdown perspective, being very mindful of your health and keeping on top of your health is going to allow you to get through that breakdown so much faster as well. I've got some great action steps in there too, including starting a food and drinks diary, and so much more. So that's chapter 5. It's a great little chapter in this time next year, your guidebook to life freedom. I hope you've enjoyed that chapter reading. And remember, January and February this month, the special is that if you email us at info@jayniemorris.com, and we'll send you out the details of how you can get a copy, a personally signed copy of the book plus postage at $10 cheaper than you would get at Amazon, at $19.95. And if you wanted also a copy of my first book, Against Their Odds, we will include that and there will be no postage on that. So wherever you are in this amazing, beautiful world of ours, I hope you're having an absolutely fabulous day. And I look forward to having you accompany on the next chapter readings of this time next year, your Guidebook to Life Freedom with Jaynie Morris.